Hey folks, the Comics Kid 2099 here to dissect an episode of a superhero animated series like I usually do on Saturdays. And today, I'm here to talk about the Batman the Animated Series episode Harley's Holiday. If you haven't seen the episode, and you've got a case of spoilerophobia, then you need to skip on this video until you can watch the episode. Or if you don't mind spoilers, then stick around as I quickly sum up the plot before I get into the review itself. Harley Quinn is deemed sane by one of the quack doctors at Arkham, and on her first day back in the real world, she believes that a security guard is gunning for her to put her back in Arkham. So she gets back into her Harley Quinn persona and kidnaps Veronica Vreeland and Bruce Wayne's car. What follows is a series of cartoonish hijinks that escalates in absurdity until finally Harley is put back in Arkham, but not for long, as the Doctor still thinks that she has a chance of reintegrating back into society. Cue credits. So I could scarcely believe that this series was throwing 3 back-to-back episodes at us about villains trying to reform in various ways. Of course, Riddler's reform only has Riddler pretending to reform while still secretly committing crimes, and Second Chance has Harvey, you could say, of two minds about going the straight and narrow. Neither of these episodes are really very similar at all, and fortunately, this one isn't very similar to either of those. But I'm still kind of surprised that we're getting such a similar broad story idea for 3 episodes all right beside each other. But where Riddler's reform and Second Chance were both played very seriously, this episode is total camp, and I think that's why it is currently one of my favorite episodes of this series. Usually, when you hear someone talk about why this series is so fantastic, they mention that it eschews the traditions of contemporary cartoons and acted like a live-action drama. You don't have the characters with overly goofy, exaggerated voices. They talk just like they would in a live-action show. For the most part, the plots are all very grounded, with a few exceptions, and the pathos is all very real and touching, just like you would find in any other TV show on primetime. But just like how Buffy the Vampire Slayer had the Zeppo and X-Files had X-Cops, a series that runs as long as Batman the Animated Series deserves to have fun with an offbeat episode like this one. Now, if every episode had been like this in terms of tone, I imagine the people who praise this show as highly as they did probably would not enjoy the series as much. But 1 episode out of 60-something, I can dig that. And really, beyond talking about how hilarious this episode is in its absurdity, there's not much else to say. Things that are so insane you can scarcely believe the episode is even doing them, they pile on one right after another in this episode. Harley has pet hyenas and doesn't understand why everyone is terrified of them. Veronica's dad chases Harley in a gigantic tank and slaps it like a cowboy trying to make a horse go faster, and he even shoots at Harley while Veronica is still with her. Harley Quinn steals Bruce Wayne's car, and out of all the many citizens in Gotham that she cuts off while making her escape, she cuts off Harvey Bullock, adding to her troubles that compound her throughout the entire day. And Bullock apparently chases her for many hours all across Gotham, as the next time we see either of them, it is now nightfall. These moments are all hilarious, and intentionally so. The only thing that I can think of that is a little bit silly and not in a good way is the idea that any doctor would deliberately release Harley Quinn into the wild. This reminds me a lot of the Brian Azzarello Lee Bermejo graphic novel The Joker that came out around 8 years ago, where the Joker's release from Arkham happens off-screen. Someone like the Clock King or the Calendar Man, I could maybe buy them being released because compared to some of Batman's more A-list baddies, these guys are fairly harmless, or their crimes aren't nearly as numerous as someone like the Joker or Harley Quinn. Some people might say that without someone like Poison Ivy or the Joker, this version of Harley is harmless, but I would strongly disagree with that sentiment. While we almost never see Harley on a crime spree on her own, she is still very dangerous and mentally unsound, to the point where I find it hard to believe that an actual doctor would release her into her own care. Yeah, I've said before that some of the security guards at Arkham must be on the take, and we even see that in action in comic book stories like Arkham Asylum Living Hell. But as far as I know, we've never seen any of the doctors exhibit any signs of being corrupt, at least in this series. But the only way I think I could be okay with this asinine idea would be if this doctor is being paid an exorbitant amount of money by the Joker so that he can reunite with Harley, or so that he can kill her for some imagined slight that she committed against him. But that would be a very different story, and I'm frankly happy that we have a Harley episode without the Joker coming in, even if very briefly, to take over the episode with his presence. But I should mention, even though this is my only problem with the episode, I understand the necessity of this plot device so that the rest of the episode can happen. But it doesn't mean that I have to like it. This series is usually pretty careful not to indulge in plot devices that are so outlandish, which is another reason why it's so noticeable here. Overall, I had a blast watching this episode. It's not something that I would want them to do very often, or even just a couple of times, but just once, I like this kind of wacky comedy of an episode. But what did you guys think of the episode and of my review? If you liked it, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you did like this review, I do this sort of thing every weekend. Next weekend, I'll be talking about the 2-part Batman Beyond episode, Curse of the Cobra. And the week after that, I'll be talking about another Batman the Animated Series episode. And I also do other videos throughout the week, so be sure to check those out as well. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.